that this play seems to be relevant even today. That is the first, characteristic of good literature. The literature that withstands the time, which withstands the place. My audio is clear, I hope. Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the literature that can transverses the time, the place, and is relevant since ages. So that literature is considered to be a good literature. So the issues that you find in this play, that are raised in this play, all the issues and all the concerns that you find in this play, they stand true even today in today's society, right? So the first thing that you find is that in order to make themselves acceptable and in order to make themselves relevant to the family affairs, the women are supposed to behave in a certain way. The first thing that the first characteristic that any woman should have according to this play is that as long as wife plays the role that she is beautiful, physical appearance. So this is, you see how gender stereotypes they take place, and certain things for one particular gender become so essential. So a girl has to look good physically. Then secondly, that even if she thinks something, her thoughts should never be communicable, real thoughts, right? And what you need to communicate is emotions. What kind of emotions? Emotions of love, emotions of sacrifice, and the manner should be pleasing. Right. So this is what Nora has been doing right from the very beginning. Girls were not accepted, not expected to gain knowledge and to share their knowledge of the world, to express their thoughts, to be opinionated, to have some opinion. Your husband's opinion should be your opinion, and the entire life should be spent in boosting the ego of the husband. The more you pretend that you are weak, the husband will get the message that he is stronger. Weaker is the woman, stronger is the man. Right? In this way, the ego of the husband should always remain inflated. Right? This ego of the husband here in Helma Tower is the disease, the sickness is just like a pin that pricks into that ego, and he is lying on the bed. During that time, the woman or wife saves his life by forging her own father's signature. And she imagines that when father will get well, then she can tell father that you were not in condition of putting your signatures on the papers, and I needed money to save my husband's life. She had thought this. But then before her father could recover, father dies. Right? So that pain, because she was very her father was very fond of her, and he was so fond of her that she misses her father, and during that sickness, or when the father was on his deathbed, she could not visit her father because she had to look after her husband. Doctor had told her that the husband should be taken to such a place where he can rejuvenate, he can get back his life. So she had planned a visit to Italy, and she did not have funds. For that purpose, she had forged the signature also. But now what has happened? Father died. The money that she had taken, she had to return that money. So, and husband had to be recovered. When husband recovers, then she cannot even then tell her husband that she had borrowed money. So what she plays, she plays that role that she is innocent and she is spendthrift and she is a little squirrel and that she is entirely dependent on her husband and she needs a lot of money. And whatever money she is taking for her dresses, she purchases clothes of in 50% of that amount. Half of the amount is for returning the amount that she had borrowed. This is what his life what her life has come to, and all the expenses she has to that whatever her husband is giving for household purposes, from that also she saves money, and now she has paid back and her husband is promoted, so now she is happy that now the life will become easy for her, right? That means according to her, life was not easy so far. But what the world knows about her is that she is such a lovable wife of her husband, and her husband pampers her, and she takes care of of her children, and she has got a very happy family life. So reality versus appearance, you see. The appearance is that she is living a very, her domestic life is very chill. She's living a very cool life. But then underneath her, that innocent appearance is that mature Nora who had who has some secret that she has to keep away from her husband. And the funny thing is that the secret is that she has done something for the sake of her husband. That is the irony. Right? Now we come to the text. This person named Krogstad has made his entry into the on the stage into the play, and now Krogstad has come to convince Nora that she should influence her husband, use her womanly charms against her husband in order to reinstate his position in the bank as clerk. Right? So he says, Mrs. Helmer, you would be so good as to use your influence on my behalf. What do you mean? You will be so kind to see that I am allowed to keep my subordinate position in the bank. This is your duty, that I am not kicked out of my job. What do you mean by that? Who proposes to take your post away from you? Oh, there's no necessity to keep up the pretense of ignorance. I can quite understand that your friend is not very anxious to expose herself to the chance of rubbing. This we are done, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So, only disagreeable, you can just scroll down. Crockstar, I promised to get you that amount on certain conditions. Your mind was so taken up with your husband's illness and you were so anxious to get the money for your journey that you seem to have paid no attention to the conditions of a bargain. Now, perhaps they have got some condition here. Therefore, it will not be amiss if I remind you of them. Now, I promised to get the money on the security of a bond which I drew up. Yes, and which I signed. Good. But below your signature, there were few lines constituting your father a surety for the money. Those lines your father would have should have signed. Should? He did sign them. I had left the date blank. That is to say, your father should himself have inserted the date on which he signed the paper. Do you remember that? Yes, I think I remember, Croc said. Then I gave you the bond to send by post to your father. Is that not so? Yes. And you naturally did so at once. Because 5 or 6 days afterwards, you brought me the bond with your father's signature and then I gave you the money. Well, haven't I said paying it off regularly? Fairly so, yes. But to come back to the matter in the hand, that must have been a very trying time for you, Mrs. Elmer. Yes, it was indeed. Your father was very ill, wasn't he? Near his end and died soon afterwards? Yes. Tell me, Mrs. Helmer, can you by any chance remember what day your father died? On what day of the month, I mean? Papa died on 29th of September. That is correct. I have ascertained it for myself and that is so. There is a discrepancy. Now paper says something and the date of the death of your husband, of your father that you are saying, there's discrepancy, there's difference. The discrepancy consists, Mrs. Helmer, in the fact that your father signed this bond 3 days after his death. This is the mistake that she has committed. Did you see? What do you mean? I don't understand. Your father died on 29th of September. But look here. Your father has dated his signature on 2nd of October. It is a discrepancy, isn't it? Nara is silent. Can you explain it to me? Still silent. It's a remarkable thing that the word 2nd of October as well as the year are not written in your father's handwriting, but in one that I think I know. Right. That it's your writing. Well, of course, it can be explained. Your father may have forgotten to date his signature, and someone else may have dated it haphazard because before they knew of his death. There is no harm in that. It all depends on the signature of the name, and that is G. I suppose, Mrs. L. It was your father himself who signed his name here? After a pause, throws her head back and looks defiantly at him. No, it was not. It was I that wrote Papa's name. Are you aware that is a dangerous confession? In what way? You shall have your money soon. Well, I'm paying back. You need not complain about it. Let me ask you, please mute your mic, whoever has a mic on. Krogstad, let me ask you a question. Why did you not send the paper to your father? It was impossible. Papa was so ill. If I had asked him for signature, I should have had to tell him what the money was to be used for. And when he was so ill himself, I could not tell him that my husband's life was in danger. It was impossible. It would have been better for you if you had given up your trip abroad. You should not have gone. No, that was impossible. That trip was to save my husband's life. I couldn't give that up. But did it not occur to you that you were committing a fraud on me? I couldn't take that into account. I didn't trouble myself about you at all. I couldn't bear you because you put so many heartless difficulties in my way, although you know what a dangerous condition my husband was in. Why are you doing this to me? Carsten, Mrs. Helmer, you evidently do not realize clearly what it is that you have been guilty of. But I can assure you that my one false step, which lost me all my reputation, was nothing more, nothing worse than what you have done. If I am going to suffer because of my fraud, then definitely be sure that I am not going to leave you. This is the thrill. Do you ask me to believe that you are brave enough to run a risk to save your wife's life? No, still she doesn't understand. She is saying that if the same condition that I had, you had, would you have saved your wife's life? The law cares nothing but about motives. Whatever your motive was, good or bad, law will not see that. Forgery is forgery. I don't believe it. Is a daughter not to be allowed to spare her dying father anxiety and care? I was saving my father anxiety and care. I didn't want to tell her that even her son-in-law was on deathbed. Right? Is a wife not to be allowed to save her husband's life? I don't know much about the law, but I am certain that there must be laws permitting such things as that. Have you no knowledge of such laws? You, who are a lawyer, can you save me? Now she is on her knees. You must be a very poor lawyer, Mr. Croxton, if you can't save me. Maybe, but matters of business, such business as you and I have had together, do you think I don't understand that? Very well, do as you please. But let me tell you this, if I lose my position a second time, you shall lose yours with me. Right? Now, again, so there are some dialogues between Nora, children, maid. This all we can leave.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Excuse me, ma'am. Krogstad is saying that if he loses his position a second time. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So Krogstad is saying that if he loses his position a second time. So the first time he lost his position when he had committed a forgery, no? That is
Yeah,
what is
he had committed, but he was not in bank. He didn't have good reputation.
okay.
Right.
So why is
But
he saying the
but after
second?
some time, he's saying because he didn't have, and her husband, because he was a friend of Krogstad, he had given him second chance to gain his reputation. Because now
Okay.
his life was serious. He was getting married, he had children. Now he had to save his image. Children were growing up. So Helmer had
No.
helped him at that time. Second chance.
So, ma'am,
Okay.
but I think like Krogstad's first profession was lawyer, so I think he
Yeah.
forged in that. He
Yeah,
lost
this
his
is
job
what.
there
Yes,
first.
he lost his job. He was in bad condition, and he needed second chance. And this second chance was provided to him by Tawar.
Okay. So ma'am, the position here means like the status. Like it means position, but
Status,
it
yes.
also
If I
means that
lose
if
my
you lose.
reputation, because see, he at on one hand he will lose his job. That is going to affect him. And the second thing, now his children are grown up, and there's no problem, and he is a widower. But he will lose his reputation, and he will lose his job. So if he loses his place in bank, Nora will have to lose her place at her own home.
Okay, ma'am. Got it. Yes, ma'am.
Right? Okay. So now Helmer has come. Nora, and you would be party to that. No, something I have missed. Did you? Oh yes, I forgot. Krogstad was here for a moment. She's informing Helmer that Krogstad was here. Nora, I can see from your manner that he has been here begging you to say a good word for him. Helmer says that he has come to use your influence, and she says yes. And you were to appear to do it of your own accord. You were to conceal from me the fact of his having. Now he's supporting Nora, and he's saying, I understand that Krogstad had come here. He was pleading before you, and you have that pressure. Right? Nora, and would you be party to that sort of thing? Whatever Krogstad has committed, are you still going to support Krogstad? You know that he has committed some fraud at bank. Are you going to support that kind of thing? To have any talk with a man like that and give him any sort of promise? Now see, such statements of Helmer, he's talking about Krogstad. But since Nora has kept the secret, so same words they apply to Nora as well. Okay, and to tell me a lie into the bargain? Lie, again that guilt speaks. Didn't you tell me no one had been here? You just told me that no one had come, but I saw Krogstad leaving the place. Okay, my little songbird must never do that again. A songbird must have a clean beak to chirp with, no false notes. Just always be singing, be happy, and don't speak any lies before me. Puts his arm around her waist. That is so, isn't it? Yes, I'm sure it is. Let's go. We will say no more about it. Don't talk about Krogstad now. And don't speak lies. How warm and snug it is here. Then he turns over his papers, becomes busy in his own work. Towel. Yes, I'm looking forward tremendously to the fancy dress ball at the Stenbox the day after tomorrow. And I am tremendously curious to see what you are going to surprise me with. What are you going to do for that fancy dress ball? It was very silly of me to want to do that. Now I think I don't want to participate in that fancy dress thing. Right? What do you mean? I can't hit upon anything that will do. Everything I think of seems so silly. I just can't think that what kind of dress should I wear and what should I perform there. Does my little Nora acknowledge that at last that you did something funny over there? Nora standing behind his chair with her arms on the back of it. Are you very busy, Towel? Well, what are all those papers? Bank business. Already? I have got authority from the retiring manager to undertake the necessary changes in the staff and in the rearrangement of the work, and I must make use of the Christmas week for that, so as to have everything in order for the new year. Then that was why this poor Krogstad. Now see how he is becoming serious. He doesn't want to respond to Krogstad. Now again, she's stroking his hair. If you hadn't been so busy, I should have asked you a tremendously big. I just want a favor from you. She wants to speak something. She wants to tell him something. Right? What is it? Tell me. There is no one. There's no one has such good taste as you, and I do so want to look nice at the fancy dress ball top. Couldn't you take me in hand and decide what I shall go as and what sort of a dress I shall wear? Aha. So my obstinate little woman is obliged to get someone to come to her rescue. You want my views upon it? Yes, Dhawan, I can't get along a bit without your help. Very well. I'll think it over and we shall manage to hit upon something. That is so nice of you. How pretty the red flowers look. But tell me, was it really something very bad that is caught? Again and again she is circling around because Krogstad has given her threat and she has to do something for Krogstad. He forged someone's name. Now see, his views will come out now. He forged someone's name. Have you any idea what that means? This is what Nora has also done, right? Isn't it possible that he was driven to do it by necessity? She is hinting at because she herself did such a thing out of necessity. Yes, Helmer says, or as in so many cases by imprudence. I am not so heartless as to condemn a man altogether because of a single false step of that kind. Again, there's a hope for Nora, it seems. No, you won't, would you, Nora? Now she feels that, okay, maybe he's going to forgive her also. Many a man had been able to retrieve his character if he had openly confessed his fault and taken his punishment. He should take the punishment for his fault. He should have done that. But he didn't openly confess his fault. He was not ready to take any punishment, and that is why he has to be expelled. Nora, punishment? But Krogstad did nothing of that sort. He got himself out of it by a cunning trick. Now see how Nora would be feeling that she has kept secret for so many years after marriage, not told him what had happened these few years back, right? So that means this cunning trick applies to Nora too. And that is why she also deserves some kind of punishment. And that is why he has gone under altogether. What do you think it would? Just think how a guilty man like that has to lie and play the hypocrite with everyone, how he has to wear a mask in presence of every near and dear to him, even before his own wife and children. See the statement. And about the children, that is the most terrible part of it, Nora. How? Because such an atmosphere of lies infects and poisons the whole life of a home. Each breath the children take in such a house is full of the germs of evil. Such extreme views that he has. See the intensity of hatred he has for lies. It doesn't matter why that lie is spoken, but if lie is spoken to wife and children, then that is a kind of a plague in the house. And he would not accept plague in his house. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
See the reason. Are you sure of that? Coming nearer. My dear, I have often seen it in the course of my life as a lawyer. Almost everyone who has gone to the bad early in life has had a deceitful mother. These parts, they are to be marked. You should mark them. This is here for the very first time, Nora is having serious conversation with her husband about the thing that she herself has done, and husband is still ignorant of this fact. So what her husband would feel about her This is the idea that she's getting from here. Why do you only say mother? Means if some person is deceitful, why is only mother to be blamed? Why not father too? Right? Why this entire
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
responsibility falls upon mother? Helma. It seems most commonly to be the mother's influence, though naturally a bad father's would have the same result. Every lawyer is familiar with the fact. This Krogstad now has been persistently poisoning his own children with lies and dissimulation. That is why I say he has lost all moral character. That is why my sweet Nora must promise me not to plead his cause. Give me your hand on it. Promise me. Come, come. What is this? Give me your hand. There now. That's settled. I assure you, it would be quite impossible for me to work with him. I literally feel physically ill when I am in company of such people. This line. He feels ill, physically ill, if he is in company with such people who commit forgery, who speak lies. Nora takes her.
Nora
Hello?
must be feeling really guilt. Ma'am,
Yeah.
Nora must be feeling really guilty while listening to him.
Yes, see, such extreme, intense views that he has. Life is all about flexibility, but see the rigid character that he has. There's no scope for pardoning someone. Okay, Nora takes her hand out of his hand and goes to the opposite side of the Christmas tree. Opposite side. Now, at one place there's Christmas tree, on either sides the poles apart, the distance between husband and wife here. How hot it is in here, and I have such a lot to do. Getting up and putting his papers in order. Yes, and I must try and read through some of these before dinner, and I must think about your costume too. But it is just possible I may have something ready in gold paper to hang upon on the tree. He puts his hand on her head, my precious little singing bird. He goes into his room and shuts the door after him. For his work. Nora. No, it isn't true. It is impossible. It must be impossible.
Ma'am, I have
Yeah.
a small question. Ma'am,
Yes.
it's not that significant, but Helma says that it is just possible that I may have something ready in gold paper to hang upon the tree. It's just a literal expression, no, that
Gift.
he has.
Gift.
Okay, okay,
All the gifts will be hung on the tree now for Christmas.
okay, ma'am.
And so this is what he's pointing out at. Okay. And with this little suspense, he's going to his work, for his work. Right?
Yes.
The nurse opens the door on the left. The little ones are begging so hard to be allowed to come into Mama. None the children want to come. No, don't let them come into me. You stay with them. And just now, husband said that mothers are going to be bad influence upon children. So she does. Her mind is not stable at present. Right? So nurse says, okay, very well, ma'am. Nora, deprave my little children. Pale with terror. She's so terrorized on listening her husband's words. Poison my home? Is this what I am doing? That my children will be deceitful now because I have committed such an act? Am I poisoning my home? I am plaguing my own place? A short pause. Then she tosses her head. It's not true. It can't possibly be true. No, I should not think about the she feels at this stage. So this first act, then second act is a climax. And the third act is resolution, where she finds the way that now what steps she should take in order to close the entire conflict. Okay, so this act 2 we will be doing tomorrow, right? I'll send the link, and around I think 12:30 time is okay for you all also.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this Act 2 is
Ma'am?
going to be very serious and important. Yes.
Ma'am, is this the first feminist play ever written? Can we say that?
Yes, of course. At least
Okay.
in Europe. See,
Okay.
they were thinking about American literature talks about feminism. Feminism started long back. Mary Wollstonecraft, if you can find this name.
The vindication
Yeah,
of the rights of women.
yeah,
She something.
that vindication of it. So from their feminism, or even before that, we can say in a way, because some women writers, they were writing under false name, and they were raising the issues, but not with an agenda. Right. So with different waves of feminism,
Yes, ma'am.
different ways they were claiming their power. Sometimes it was for as political right or social right. Sometimes they concentrated on the gender itself, psychological aspects. These were the different ways. But in Europe, it began with this doll's house, you may say.
So maybe, ma'am, in other languages or maybe under pseudonyms, women were writing before this also.
Yes,
But this is
women,
the first European play which talked about feminism.
which talked about this. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Ma'am, we didn't click a photo because everyone didn't switch on their video.
Please switch on your
Please.
videos, everyone, please. And this play is going to become intense, very serious, and you may wonder when when these outer coverings are removed, and the real society when we view, and then we understand that how deep rooted is the inequality between the two sexes, discrimination between the two sexes. It is very deep rooted and it is ingrained in our psyche. Okay, and from the very early stage, girls have been trained and treated in such a way that they themselves believe that they are lesser than boys. One gender is lesser than the other. And not only in girls, in boys also, they have been told that they have to save the other gender, they have to protect the other gender, but they are never told that they have to treat the other gender equally. They have the same brains that both genders, they have same brains, right? It is only the some parts of the body that would discriminate the gender. Otherwise, both genders are same, right? So in our
Ma'am,
And
next,
they are conditioned with, gender roles, and they are from the early age only they are
yes,
conditioned that.
the stereotype that goes on for generations, it has been going on in most of the societies, because some tribal societies had been matriarchal, but as the colonization came and different cultures they emerged, the dominating culture dominated and wiped out the original indigenous cultures of these tribal groups too. So
Vanessa.
even those societies which were matriarchal have turned to be patriarchal ones.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I was having one question.
Name, please.
Tanishka Bhadoria.
Yes.
Ma'am, initially, Helmer was a lawyer. Then why did he join Bang and why did he become the branch manager?
See, this is totally, going on the other track. Toward is planning his own career, and it doesn't matter if he's a lawyer, it doesn't matter if he's a banker. What it matters is he's a male who dominates and runs his home, right? So, what message the writer would want to convey through his play, and what is the central theme of the play, or what are the minor themes of the play? We have to focus on that. we haven't been told by the writer about his career choices or what he wanted in the beginning, what his parents wanted for him, or what he himself thought, what Nora thought. These are not important. As far as what is important is that Nora wants that she wants a comfortable living, and her husband wants a wonderful career where he can exercise his power. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then. So can we disperse now and we'll meet tomorrow. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome. Okay. Have a good day.